Hi and welcome back. After taking this lesson, you will be able to answer constructors related questions with a great confidence. I split this lesson to two parts. First lesson is related to constructor basic. The next lesson will cover a little bit more advanced questions related to inheritance and more. So let's start with the basic questions we would like to cover in this lecture. Is constructor mandatory in a class? What is the default constructor? Can I override default constructor? Can I overload a constructor? Before answering those interesting questions, let's start with a short introduction to constructor. Constructor in Java is a special type of method that is used to initialize the object. Java constructor is invoked by the JVM at the time of object creation. The rules for defining a constructor are very simple. Constructor name must be the same as its class name, and constructor must have no explicit return type. Basically, there are two types of constructors: the default constructor and the parameterized constructor, which is a constructor with arguments. Let's take a look on the code sample on section 3 under Computrade constructor package and open the person for const sample Java code. We can see a simple person class in which we already use in the toString lesson. This class has three member variables: first name, last name, and ID. If we just run the program, we will see it print the default value of the member variable, as we learned in the previous lesson. First name and last name are null, and the ID is 0 because it is an int. So JVM was able to create an instance of this class without any constructor defined. How does it work? Well, the JVM is running the default constructor provided by the compiler, which is no argument constructor, meaning it doesn't get any parameter as input. So we have answered to our first questions. Is a constructor mandatory in a class? No, because we have a default constructor. And what is the default constructor? It is a constructor that has no input parameters. Now, of course, I can create customized constructor. For example, with 1, 2, or 3 parameters. Let's try to define one constructor with parameter. I will right-click, choose source, and generate constructor using fields. We can see a pop-up which gives us the option to choose which field we want to use in the constructor. For now, I will choose only first name and click OK. A new constructor was added to the code. We can notice that now we have a compilation error, because once we added a customized constructor, the default constructor is not valid anymore. In order to solve that, I can add a parameter to my constructor and run the program again. Now the code is running and the constructor initialized the first name field with a value. Great. But what about providing my own empty constructor? Is it possible? Let's try to define an empty constructor and call it from my code. I will run the program again. Yes, the code was compiled and run successfully. Great, so we have an answer to the next question. Can I override default constructor? Yes, we can create our own no arguments constructor. Now let's try to answer the next question. Can I overload constructors? Of course I can overload constructor with as many parameters that I would like to. Let's right-click the code, choose source, generate constructor using fields. We see again this pop-up which gives us the option to choose which field we want to use in the constructor. I will choose the first name and the last name and click OK. A new constructor was added to the code. I will do it again and choose first name, last name, ID, and click OK. So now we have 4 constructors on the same class. Let's try creating a person object with each one of them. Okay, great. We have created 4 objects using 4 different constructors. In the next lecture, I will continue with some more constructor questions. See you in the next lesson.